intention to do so by applying online. You also need to notify them of each technology you will use. Before notarizing for a customer, the notary must demand the customer personally appear. That means the notary and the customer can physically exchange identification and documents. A notary cannot notarize a document on his or her desk simply because the signature is recognizable. For a remote online notarization, the personal appearance requirement is met when the notary and the customer meet online using state-approved audio-visual technology. The most important thing you do as a notary is to identify your customer. You may use your own personal knowledge, ask for acceptable identification, or use a credible witness to identify your customer. This sign describes the requirements for acceptable identification. You are required to have an official stamp that you place on a document every time you notarize. The impression made by the stamp requires specific information inside a plain border. The words Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, Notary Seal, the commissioned notary's name and the title Notary Public, the county where the notary's office of record is located, the expiration date of the notary's commission, and the 7-digit commission identification number assigned by the Department of State. No words or terms on the official stamp may be abbreviated. Other printing may appear outside the border. The official stamp should be placed close to your signature without overlapping any signatures or text. Every notary needs to keep a journal that contains an accurate and chronological listing of every notarization he or she performs. Every time you stamp, that is a separate notarization and warrants a separate journal entry. You may be sanctioned by the Department of State for not keeping an accurate journal. Your journal belongs to you, the notary, even if it was purchased for you by an employer. If your journal is tangible, paper, it needs to be bound with pre-numbered pages and entries. If your journal is electronic, it must be tamper evident. Whether your journal is paper or electronic, it needs to contain information about you. Also required is a statement about what to do with your journal in the event of your death. Your representative should take the journal to the Recorder of Deeds office. For each notarization, you are required to list the date and time of the notary act, the type of notary act, and a description of the record, if any. Also required, the notary fee, clerical and administrative fees. When entering fees in your journal, the notary fee and clerical and administrative fees need to be recorded separately, not lumped together. Finally, you are required to list customer information, including the customer's complete name and address, not just city and state. A statement regarding the identification of the customer based on personal knowledge, or a brief description of the method of identification. You are not allowed to record personal information about your customer in your journal. Specifically prohibited information: complete social security numbers, complete driver's license numbers, and complete account numbers. If you are asked for copies of your journal, The notary law requires you to provide the person that made the request with a certified copy. These are the notary fees that were set by the Department of State. You are not required to charge fees for your services. If you charge fees, you are required to post a schedule of fees or make one available upon request. Your two most common notary acts are acknowledgments and verifications on oath or affirmation. The most you can charge for taking the acknowledgement of one person is $5. For each additional person, you may charge $2. The most you can charge for taking a verification on oath or affirmation is $5, no matter how many signatures. You are not permitted to charge a fee when notarizing the affidavit for a person needing assistance to vote by absentee ballot. You are permitted to charge clerical and administrative fees for things like travel, postage, and telephone calls. These fees are not regulated by the state. If you charge fees of any kind, you should provide your customer with an itemized receipt. The fees you collect belong to you unless you have a mutual agreement with your employer. Also, during normal business hours, your employer may limit your notarizations only to those directly related to work. The law allows you to perform several notary acts. The most common are verifications on oath or affirmation and acknowledgments. When performing a notarization, everything needs to be done contemporaneously or at the same time. The Certificate of Notarial Act, notary wording, is required for all notarizations. It consists of two parts, the venue and the notary statement. The venue describes where the notarization is taking place. The notary statement determines the notary act you are performing. Here is the notary statement for a verification on oath or affirmation. Here is the notary statement for an acknowledgement. Here are the steps to follow when notarizing a verification on oath or affirmation and an acknowledgement. You are also authorized to make a certified copy of a document. Here is a list of things for which you may make a certified copy. You are not allowed to make certified copies of the items listed on the screen. It is important that you scan through the presented document to determine if it has blank spaces. If a document is written or designed to contain information and the information is missing, you may not notarize. If you find blank spaces, point them out to your customer. The customer may draw lines or print NA in the blank spaces. Once the blank spaces are filled in, you may notarize. When you use a preferred signature that is not legible, you are required to print your name adjacent to the preferred signature. In this section, you will be asked a series of questions, so you are prepared to take the notary examination. You will be given immediate feedback on your answers.